so that I gain a much better understanding from an Egyptian local side. Reclaim our narrative.
Yes.
That's what I'm after.
Yes. This episode is brought to you by EFG Hermes One, your one app for investing in more than 35 stock markets worldwide. Welcome again to What I Did Next. I'm Malak Fuad, and we're continuing my conversation with Fatenn Mostafa Kanafani. On today's episode, she tells me about her work in documenting all her art research. So hand in hand with the day-to-day work of the gallery, your involvement, you became passionate about putting on paper all that you've learned, codifying, cataloging your work.
Yes.
So you have 2 books already published, one which you shared with me, which I'm going to read, which is called Daughters of the Nile,
Yes.
where you have a chapter in it.
38 women,
But then you also did a book on called Modern Art in Egypt, which is under your own name.
Yes.
You're currently working on a 3rd book.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the 3rd book.
Okay.
Because that's coming out this year.
Yes. The whole idea is to provide an English language book that's both academic, but at the same time accessible, to put Egypt's history back on the map in terms of art and culture. And again, respond to the question, what is the intersection during a very volatile century? What really pushed me to pursue these publication much more than anything else is that I remember in 2010 in Dubai, there was this very important auction.
At Christie's.
And I remember very well sitting with the audience, and there is the moment that Mahmoud Said sold, and I recall it was $2.1 million or something.
It was the first big sale
and
of Mahmoud
we all clapped and so on. There was one woman from the Arab.
I was in that
you
audience.
were? So we were together and very proud. But I got this young lady who, huge, big collector actually from the Arab world. And she asked me, but who is this Mahmoud Said?
Oh.
And it triggered, wow. So Mahmoud Said is actually, there are a lot of people who don't know much about our artists, which is understandable. I mean, if there are no publications,
of course. There's not enough material.
And we became all of a sudden the new kid on the block. Arab art in general, whether it's modern or contemporary, at the early 2000s, and for a lot of reasons and agendas and what have you, and auction houses, Western auction houses coming, it became every period of time, there has to be a new kid on the block. So Middle East is the new kid on the block. And I wanted to respond to that question. So who are these artists? And there were not just Mahmoud Said, Ghazar, Hamid Nari.
And your first big coffee table book, Modern Art in Egypt.
Yeah, I don't like to call it coffee table book. I want people to read it. And that's why I'm looking at making soft cover, smaller versions so that people can read it in bed if they want, or study it. And they study it at university in several courses in the United States who are more interested in Arab art in general. And the one that you saw is focused on the period 1850 to 1936. And it's subtitled Identity and Independence. And I'm very keen on understanding this from our own archives.
Yes.
So 15 years ago, I started to read what everybody else wrote about us, which obviously is very important. And with time, you discover, hey, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's also subjective, and it's coming from a point of view that is not ours.
Well, history is written by those who win.
Of course.
And deciding which history to choose is always a challenge. And like I said, because my book is not just, or my series of books and researches are not just about Hussein Picard. No, it is what influenced the artists and how artists influenced the movements. So I decided 5-6 years ago that a lot more of my reading and sources are going to be Arabic and coming from Egypt sources, Egyptian writers, leftists, thinkers, Islamists, rebels, poets, so that I gain a much better understanding from an Egyptian local side. Reclaim our narrative.
Yes.
That's what I'm after.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, why is your specialty modern Egyptian art? Why not? I mean, now we have contemporary has become very prevalent now in Egypt and the region. Why modern? Was it because at the time it was a rich foundation that was untapped? What was the thinking for you?
But see, the 20th century, during the 20th century till the mid-60s, Egypt was the cultural city by excellence of the Arab world. If you want to learn about history, and I'm very passionate about history as a researcher, and now I had discovered art, I wanted to combine both. What is the Is there an intersection between artist and history? Nationalism, British occupation. We tend to forget all of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Egypt has gone through different phases that are insane.
Absolutely.
Great avant-garde artists, intellectuals. It's not just the usual suspects of Taha Hussein, Abbas al-Aqad. No, there were tons of very cosmopolitan, intellectual thinkers, poets, rebels that existed that for a reason or another history has forgotten. And to answer you, I was and I'm still am extremely intrigued by this period.
It's such a rich
Maybe
part
it doesn't interest anybody, but for me, I've dedicated the past 50 years to studying the history of 20th century Egypt with a special focus on the cultural side, the intersection between art, politics, religion.
And the book that you're currently in the process of finishing, you're finalizing the edits.
It's a chronological. So
That's
it's from
exactly what I mean.
1936 to 1973.
So the post-identity and independence, you've gone the next step.
Yes.
And it's a trilogy, I remember you telling me.
So now it's what we call the Egyptian avant-garde.
You're in book 2 now.
Yeah, of this chronological phase, which is probably the most important. If you ask me who I would have loved to meet from those who passed from the world, it's probably this period of meeting maybe Georges Henin and Anwar Kemal, two of who I believe are first-tier Egyptian thinkers.
Yes.
So this is the period of very important movements, art movements that shaped who we are today in terms of art exhibiting, artist practices, being very socially and politically engaged, which is very close to my heart.
That was my bonus with Fatenn Mostafa Kanafani. We've got one more bonus episode, only for members, coming out next week, where Fatenn and I talk about parenting, from our contrasting parenting styles and how she successfully navigated long-distance parenting with her husband. You can get this episode by subscribing to What I Did Next in Apple Podcasts or on our website. You can start out with a free trial and get access to all our members' episodes as well. See you again next week.